People think me and Never look alike. It's cool. Right. It's like that's how you do it. It's like regular engagement and regular conversation about regular stuff. The problem is nobody seems to be concerned about what people tell us they most of the time. Yes. Next. Yes.
How should we continue?
Come in.
Cameron.
Yes.
How should we continue forward? Like, I know there's probably not a solution, but like, what should we do?
Who's we?
Everybody. Just like the school system in general.
Do you think the burden? Who do you think the burden should be on to have that to start that dialogue and move toward progress? Who do you think that is? Just curious. Huh? Yes. The reality is most white people have never accepted their history. If you say historically black oppression has occurred, most time white people be like, 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment alleviates that, and immediately the reality is done. And you don't understand it. You don't get it. What you really don't understand is like, but the neighborhoods are still segregated, though. Right? Until white people begin to own their history. We have yet to get an apology for slavery. Y'all can't even be like, my bad? That's how. Yes, next. Tell me your name. Huh? Rita. Rita. Yes.
What's the difference between African American and Black?
There's a hyphen in between African and American, right? That hyphen, that's the middle passage. Put that one in your pocket. I'm telling you, that's going to get you some speaking points I'm trying to tell you. Say it when we say it to you again. African and American is separated by a hyphen. The hyphen is the middle passage. It's a journey. The reality is, in ancient Africa, you got that? Boom, the light bulb. She said, yes. I can't hear you. Talk to me.
For me, like, I identify myself as African American because I'm from Africa and I moved to America. But then when I meet other Black people, do I just like call them African American? Because I identify African American as
I'm black. I don't know about.
Yeah, I identify that as you still celebrate African culture and you.
Yes, I think so. The reality is that African American is a search for the Africanity that we lost in the middle passage.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I identify, I know that I'm African, right? I can figure it out. But the question is, how does that Africanity work, right? I know that when I feel that sun on me and I hear drums and I read about where I came from and who I am, it matters. Right? But when we got on those ships, we got on the ships Yoruba, Igbo, Kikuyu, Zulu, Fulani, Twi, right? And we got off Negroes. Negroes. Did it hit you? Negroes. Right? And the process that you see when you see other black people who look like you is that there's a shared history of that. Right? Colonialism and slavery are like twin sisters. It's just one requires you to leave while one demanded that you stay. Right? And so that's kind of the shared cultural ground if I had to explain it to you. Yes, ma'am. Anything else? We good? Don't all try to come up here and ask me a question individually when I say everybody go. Okay? Please ask, because trust me, you do not have a different question than 100 other people have. Yes?
Hi, my name is
Your name is? Nicolin.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm really excited about what
What
your plan is.
does your plan do? Huh? Depends on what it does. Just because I've said the word black does not mean everything you know about debate has gone out the window. Thank you, Nicolin, for giving me this soapbox. I love you. You are a friend. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Listen. same way you would defend your plan in any other situation is the same way you would defend it against that. There's probably some reasons why building trans bathrooms and acknowledging any blackness probably can work in the same way. That's a debate to be had, obviously, right? But it depends on what your app is doing. In the same way you have to defend that your app's a good idea, like it solves the problem, it's the same way you have to do it in this situation. If I say anti-blackness is real, and you say we should change the curriculum to make people more amenable to military recruitment, you got to be able to defend that. Why you look so heartbroken and confused by you got to defend your plan? I'm telling you, we're just talking, we're just people. Yes.
It's just like,
Hmm?
I need to think of words.
You said rules?
I'm trying to think of a way to phrase it.
Say it how you mean it. Progress is impossible in any situation if everybody goes, I was wondering, how, are you a female, a person of a different gender? How do you feel about women's reproductive, people's rights? We have to have these conversations.
Okay, so say that you're running like a desegregation app.
Sure.
How do you defend that you're respecting the right and doing all the ways that?
Why is the SDI integrated? Feel a little integrated? I'm sitting up here talking to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we not have had this conversation? Because Detroit's still segregated, so should we have not had this conversation? You ain't think my man Belcher was fly? What, you have to be able to defend why that desegregation process in that way works. How does it change the world that we fundamentally understand? Without the SDI, there are kids in my lab who would never have had a black teacher. Why is that not a good thing? When you are saying certain things, you have to really look at the material reality of what you say does. My presence talking to an audience that looks like this is not a regular, everyday American occurrence. Most of these people who are in here, who are white, usually do not have a black person walk up to you like, good morning, white child, how are you? That never happened. The look on my last face the first day, they're like, they all sit together by gender and race. They self-segregate, Nicholas. These people, reasonable, right through this area, right in there. Right in there. I'm not going to point at anybody. How did they learn that behavior? And what would your app do to solve that? One of the major things that allowed the Brown v. Board education case to happen was the way in which Dr. Kenneth Stamp and the lawyer Thurgood Marshall took black children and said, which dog do you want to be, the black dog or the white dog? They like the white dog. What dog is pretty, the black dog or the white dog? White dog. Because you get sent those subliminal messages about how you're treated. I went to a school that did not have water, good, clean running water in it for several months. For an entire school year, I did not have good drinking water. With black trash bags on it. That's how they send those subliminal messages. The question is, how does your app resolve those kind of questions? And even if you do a little something that's good, why is that good? Yes, anybody else? Yes.
What should you do if...
What is your name? Okay, that's one.
What's your advice on, if there's people in your school who are outright racist, but then when you confront them about this, they kind of own it and use it as their own pride?
What, that I'm just happy to be racist? Oh, I'm glad you deal with it. I'm glad you asked me. I'm so glad you asked me. Give me a 5. How do you deal with an overt racist? Let me show you. Hey, how are you? How you doing? That's racist. Okay, we'll keep moving. Some people, there are some things and some people who just have to be on the wrong side of history. Now, that does not mean that there are not new converts who use theological terms, right? There are some people who just have never even thought that what they said was overtly racist. So yes, there should be hope and faith in those conversations that you can do that. I've seen some of my colleagues that I work with consistently who have, over the years, just evolved into better people. But they would never have had that conversation. You know, when I had that conversation with all of your friends from the good cheese state of Wisconsin, y'all were like, Kelly, man, black, that's deep. That would never have been, that's not possible without cross-cultural conversation. So sometimes a lot of people are overtly racist because they don't even know it. How would you, most people who live in segregated environments say problematic things because everybody around them is exactly the same. When Donald Trump was saying all that crazy stuff, like just walk up, grab them by, you know, the private parts and stuff, his defense of that was like, that's locker room talk. What he's trying to say is, if you are in completely masculine spaces that never are accessible to certain people, and nobody's offended by what you say, because they may or may not be affected by it, that's how that happens. That same group think can happen in any context, in racial context, in class context, etc. I could not believe when I got to college at Rutgers that there were kids arguing with their parents about, Dad, you hate me. You're not gonna let me drive the Maserati this weekend? And they serious. And the dad is on the phone, I love you, son. I don't hate you. In my brain, I was like, this is a real conversation. Are you serious right now? Right. But in their cultural enclave, that's a real question. What's next? Anybody else? Yes.
How do you bring up the conversation?
What's your name?
Sarah.
Sarah.
Yeah. How do you bring up the conversation without seeming insensitive, especially when your race or they're involved in the conversation when we're talking about
How do you not sound insensitive?
Yeah.
You know what's really interesting? So many people have a problem with Colin Kaepernick's protest and nothing to say about what he mad about. At some point, it is comforting to know that other people around you are offended. I had an issue at this camp last year that was pretty problematic, right? And I was hurt about it. And the black students who this really problematic comment, not to rehash a bad thing, were hurt about it. But it mattered to me that Casey Harrigan was upset about it, that Carly was upset about it, that Will Repko was upset about it. It's not to say that they are affected the same way, but I want you to be mad with me. You understand what I'm saying? Trust me, if something bad happens, I know in my lab something bad happens, that one's gonna be mad with me. She'll be like, what did they say? What the hell, you Jackson? Shut the front door. They're gonna be mad. My good liberal white children are gonna be mad with me. And that is the first step, is that we all think that we exist in spaces where all of our problems only affect that one group. And when people feel isolated, when people feel like people don't care, then it's harder for you to come up and try to be my friend when I don't believe you care about anything that I'm upset about. Right? So that's the first step, I think. Right? Yes. You have a question, sir? You, pink shirt. You have a question? Well, what were you whispering? Tell us about it. Oh, okay. I like those. Next. Anybody else? Questions, comments? Do not go to your lab leader and go, what do you say? Yes. Anything else? Please ask. Yes. Name.
I'm Ben.
Huh?
Ben.
Ben. Yes, Ben. You're from?
I'm from Pinehurst.
Okay. Jeremy Hammond. Got it. Okay.
One thing that, how, I guess when we're debating anti-blackness,
Sure.
because one thing that
Okay. I'm glad you said that. There's no such thing as an anti-blackness team. There's not one anti-blackness theory. Third, Frederick Douglass is talking about anti-blackness. Frank Wilkerson is talking about anti-blackness. Cornel West is talking about anti-blackness. Those theories are not the same thing. this may be I'm probably gonna catch it from David and some other people later. The thing we want you to do if we read these arguments is for you to stand up and be like, Wilson is wrong. And I have not said anything about Wilson. That is not good, right? So think about, first thing you got to acknowledge is that they're different. Yes, and then continue the question.
Just based on experience from you having pitched guns in the past,
Yes.
what is an argument, I guess, that also can make to try to defend the state without them, like a little racist?
But, okay, just because I say the government is good, right, or government action is good, does not in and of itself make me a racist. Now, the government is a historically racist institution, right? But I'm saying that financial aid I got that time, I liked it. It was very helpful. I appreciate it. They were still racist, but I appreciate the Pell Grants. It's nice. The refund checks kept some good. It was a new phone. It was good. Right? So it's not a question of that you are immediately racist by saying the government is good. Right? The question is, how does this particular action by the government, right, mitigate some of the problems that the critique isolates? If you are like, we should give out school vouchers for kids to go to Woodward, because Woodward is a good school, and if you could go there, your life changes to be better, right? That doesn't solve the question, right? But what it does say is that we need to be able to, sometimes progress has to happen because we force it to, right? And how does the affirmative that I have mitigate some of the harms of anti-blackness? Anti-blackness is not like a big, it's like not a big grizzly bear. It's a series of things. Want to hear one of the most devastating cross-sections I ever heard in my life? I voted AF in like 15 seconds. It was a team reading a transportation affirmative, right? 2 white children, 2 rich white children. Team reading a Wilson burned down the whole thing argument, 2 black children. And this cross-section was so devastating because the black kids are like pushing back. Cross-section 1 NC happens. He says, I have a question. What do you think anti-blackness looks like? Kid's like, the world. Anybody heard that before? The world. The world is anti-black. And the kid was like, you don't think anti-blackness looks like polluted buses running over black kids? You don't think that's anti-black? He was like, yeah. Yeah. He was like, I'm good. And the plan was like, build green buses and watch out for black kids crossing the street. Don't get it. He was like, I'm just saying, I think Frank Wilson would want to be able to cross the street without getting hit by a bus. And I was like, probably so. Depends on, that's what I mean. That's a debate to be had. It's not like you promise yourself the ballot. That's a place to be. Yes, anything else? Yes, is that it? We good? Okay. Nobody else has a question? Sure. Go on one. I want my cookie, so it's good. Don't let me go. I'm sorry. Anybody, one more chance. Anybody else want to ask anything else? You want to ask about specific policies, staff members, people? You want to ask? This is a good time to ask. I can stand up here. Oh, good at you. What's your name? Yes, Daniel. I can't hear you.
Or when it comes to like an actual debate,
Yes. A little bit louder for people in the back.
what do you think for like answering things like white fragility or things that are sensitive or more?
And you said, what do I think about that?
Or like how would you suggest answering?
Why do you think white people are fragile? Do they have anything to be fragile about? It's not a trick. I promise you I have not asked any trick questions. Let me tell you. This is my wallet. I'm going to give it to you. Hold that. Trust me. I see you. Right? Now, right? If Marcus comes and asks me a question, okay, after the lecture. And I answer Marcus's question. And then Malachi comes and asks me a question. And you take my wallet and go get on an airplane and fly back home. When I see you again, and I know you took my wallet and got on an airplane, are you going to be worried about having a conversation with me? Why? Because what? You did something wrong. Yes. I have reason to be mad at you. That is the reality of what a lot of these scholars are talking about white fragility talking about. Is that there's a reality of people being angry about historical problems. Right? When you have a country that was built by Africans, enslaved Africans, that you took from Native Americans, you didn't give none of the land back, you didn't give them their country back, you didn't pay no reparations, you should be a little uncomfortable sometimes. Right? So like, how do you answer that question, you think? I mean, the first thing you got to acknowledge is truth. Right? The reason I talk to you about these things is because most people don't even talk about it. Right? So first is the acknowledgement. The second thing is, like, it could be that my app ain't about me. We're not really concerned. Right? Give my money back. Yes, anybody else? Yes, what's your name? Huh? Ethan, what's up? Yes. Yes. I'm not black, I'm OJ. Okay. I love you. He asked me if Jay-Z album great. I said yes. Next. Yes, question. Huh? I got what? Yes. Will we play? We have to have one. Yes. Anybody have a question? Yes? No problem. Anybody else have a question? Comments? Comments, concerns? Anything else? Going once?